Hello, this is Douglas Robinson. I am a solutions consultant with Beyond 20. Today we're going to be demonstrating how to configure your Cherwell AutoDeploy to install Cherwell under one of many different domain administrative accounts. This will allow you to install Cherwell on user machines or workstations that are members of multiple different domains without having to configure multiple different AutoDeploy sites. As you can see here, I have two different accounts configured for my current AutoDeploy configuration. Now, if you had just installed Cherwell 8.2.0 in your browser apps installation, you will have been prompted whether or not you would like to update your AutoDeploy configuration. If you selected yes, then you will be asked to configure your AutoDeploy using this screen right here, right after you've finished installing your Cherwell browser applications. However, if you did not and you need to open up the AutoDeploy configuration screen, you can do that by going to the installation directory you have for your Cherwell installation. Now you'd go into your Cherwell Service Management folder, and then you would open up the AutoDeploy Config.exe application. This is the configuration application for your Cherwell AutoDeploy site. And just a quick walkthrough for this AutoDeploy configuration tool. Your connection up at the top is going to be a 3-tier connection. You cannot use other connections such as database connections or 2-tier connections. It always has to be a 3-tier connection. So I have a 3-tier connection for the local machine I have right here. Next, you're going to set up what your AutoDeploy site is. It is imperative that you include an address here for your AutoDeploy site that will link to the server that hosts your AutoDeploy installation files. So for instance, here I have 192.168.99.2 that identifies this local machine. And once a user goes to the Cherwell AutoDeploy site for this server, they will be greeted with an installation, or they will be greeted with an option to download the AutoDeploy downloader tool, which will download the rest of the files from the address specified here. This is also used if you have a 3-tier connection. This will be used to prompt a user that's still running an older version of Cherwell to download the newest version of Cherwell, and it will download the AutoDeployer installation files from this address if they're connecting to a 3-tier server that has AutoDeploy configured. Your target folder here needs to point to the folder that you're going to store your AutoDeploy files in. This is usually going to be under your Cherwell browser applications directory and program files, and then Cherwell AutoDeploy. After you have those 3 fields configured, you can choose whether or not this is going to overwrite any client connections they have, whether it will automatically connect to Cherwell without prompting them to choose a connection, and whether or not the connection that you are adding will be the default. You can also display debug messages as part of your AutoDeployer if you're having trouble with your AutoDeployer, if you're troubleshooting it. And then you can choose whether or not they are allowed to download just the client application or the client and administrative tools, or if they get a choice. And you can force one of these 2 options if you don't want them to have a choice of what they'd like to install. And then at the bottom here we have really what's new in Cherwell 8.2. Previously on earlier versions you had the option to specify a single domain account for this installation to run under, but now you actually get the option to add multiple different accounts, and you can validate whether or not credentials are valid on the current network. You can remove accounts, or you can edit the ones that are already there. And on this screen I'm going to go ahead and add another account here, and we can include a test domain and a user account, and then enter in a password. And then from this screen we can either validate whether or not these are correct credentials so that we know that we're entering them in correctly and we're not just configuring our AutoDeploy with incorrect credentials that will cause a user to not be able to install Cherwell. And then we can press OK to include this account in the list of accounts available here. Once you've configured all of the installation accounts that you need as part of your AutoDeploy, you can click OK at the bottom of the screen and Cherwell will wrap your AutoDeploy for you. This usually takes a minute or less, and it will give you a prompt letting you know where the updated installation file has been deployed to. Once that's done, you can go on to other machines that you have, and you can start downloading Cherwell from the AutoDeploy that you have just set up. Now I'm going to move to a separate machine of mine and attempt to download the AutoDeploy from Cherwell, or in an attempt to download the AutoDeploy installation from the server that I had just set up. Now that I'm on my other machine, I'm going to open up Google Chrome, and I'm going to navigate to the address that I had set up for my AutoDeploy. And it is important to note, at the end of your server address, you do need to type in Cherwell AutoDeploy, and you'll be greeted with this screen where you have the option to download the AutoDeploy installation, or you could also use this as a shortcut to get to Cherwell's documentation online. So I'm going to download the AutoDeployer and run it. Now, because I had not included an account that covers the other virtual machine that I have as far as domains go, I was not able to continue the installation. So you will still have issues with any machines that you have that are not on the domains that you have included accounts for in your AutoDeployer. I've gone back to my server machine and I've added an additional account for my test server with the correct domain for that server and the administrator credentials. So now I will rewrap the Cherwell AutoDeploy, and then I will test again to demonstrate that it will work with the new credentials I've inserted. Now I'm back on the test system. I'm going to download the AutoDeployer again. And we can see now that I am presented with the full Cherwell installer instead of an error message regarding an incorrect domain account, because there was at least one account in the list of domain credentialed accounts for the AutoDeploy configuration that matched the machine that I was installing this on. So now I can accept the terms, choose whether or not this is going to be installed for a user or for everyone. I can choose where it's going to be installed to, as well as whether or not I'll be installing the client or the client and administrator tools. After that, it will take roughly a minute to install Cherwell using this wizard. And that is all that is involved in configuring multiple domain accounts for Cherwell's AutoDeploy wizard in Cherwell 8.2.0. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to see other videos like this one, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/beyond20llc. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comments section below.